Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. Go ahead, MC.
All right, Detective, please state your name and spell it for the record.
Roderick Nohilly, Roderic. Last name Nohilly.
All right, Detective Nohilly, how are you currently employed?
I'm a sergeant on patrol at the Glenn County Police Department
And how long have you been with the Glenn County Police Department?
for 16 years.
And your entire time in law enforcement, has it been with the Glenn County Police Department?
No, I worked for Brunswick Police Department beforehand for about 3.5 years.
So you're coming.
I am.
All right. And are you currently a post-certified law enforcement officer?
I am.
And you're a sergeant over patrol. So what do you do now?
I supervise patrol shift.
And those the officers who drive around the cars?
Yes.
All right. Do you drive around in a car?
I drive around in a car, yes.
All right. Do you respond to 911 calls?
I do.
Are you assigned to any particular baker?
No.
You're over all of them?
Yes.
All right. So at any point in time with your tenure in Glenn County, have you been assigned to CID or in any capacity investigating things like homicides, armed robberies, and things like that?
Yes, I was assigned.
Good morning. Welcome to the Ahmaud Arbery trial. They have the sergeant
when
who's
was
on
that?
duty.
For the first time from
Understand now.
2010 to 14,
Why is it
second
like
from
this? Okay.
2018 to a few months ago, well, beginning of this year.
Beginning of 2021.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Hey, everybody.
All right. So I'm going to direct your attention specifically to February 23rd,
Oh, yeah, she's feeling better
2020,
today. She's back
in
at
the
school.
evening at the Glenn
She had a
County
miracle
Police Department
recovery as soon as we got
headquarters.
home,
Were you
so.
present there at that time?
Yes.
All
Actually,
right.
my mic
So
is
what
on.
we're going to talk about
Hold on. Check
specifically
my audio level.
is an interview with Greg McMichael. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, you're not the one who conducted the initial interview with Greg McMichael, did you?
No.
All right. You then became involved because you stopped by.
Yes.
Why did you stop by?
I was standing by while someone else was doing a statement form. I was just waiting.
And did you know Greg McMichael prior to February 23rd of 2020?
I did.
Tell the jury how you knew Greg McMichael prior to February 23rd, 2020.
I knew him as one of the investigators.
Thank you
at
so much.
Our DA's office here.
All right.
He would come to our station, deliver subpoenas here and there, and I would talk to him. I knew him professionally.
And how long had you known him professionally?
Yeah, she's doing okay. She's feeling a lot better
Since
today.
at least 2005.
So
For those of you just
any
here, we're watching the
personal
Ahmaud
relationship, like out
Arbery
to
trial.
dinner or anything like that?
No.
Good afternoon, Germany.
So when you stopped by, was he still in the interview room and was the recording still going?
Yes, it was. And yes, he was.
Sorry, that was a bad question. So he was still in the interview room
Yes, he was.
and you stopped by to talk to him.
Yes.
Did he agree to speak with you freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And what was kind of the nature or tone of the conversation you had with him?
We were just talking about what happened. You know, he was telling me what happened.
All right, so I'm going to hand you what has already been marked and admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 225A. All right. Prior to coming to court today, have you had an opportunity to review State's Exhibit 225A, the transcript of the interview with Greg McMichael?
I have.
All right. And I'm going to direct your attention at this time specifically to page 59 of that transcript. All right.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm going to have you specifically give the jury the quotes from your conversation with him starting at line 2. What did you ask Greg McMichael?
What's his name? The one who owns this house.
Now, when you say the one who owns this house, what house are you referring to?
The house that was under construction a few doors down from his home.
Okay. And what was his answer to you?
I have no idea. Never met him. Never met him.
What is the next question that you asked Greg McMichael?
He never met the guy who owned the house. He doesn't know the guy's
Did
name.
this guy break into a house today?
And what did Greg McMichael say in response from line 8 to line 13?
Well, that's just it. I don't know. That's what I told what's her name out there. I said, listen, you might want to go knock on doors down there because this guy had just done something that he was fleeing from. And I don't know, you might have gone, might have gone in somebody else's house.
That's it,
Okay.
right?
Somebody's
So I'm going to stop
So
it for a second.
when he said,
That's extremely damning testimony right there. That's extremely damning, right? Why were you, did you see him go into any place? What happened? He said, no, he had people, he said he told somebody else to go check it out. So let's understand what the defense's argument here in this case is. They were arresting Ahmaud. They were conducting a citizen's arrest of Ahmaud Arbery. Yet they didn't see him go into any houses. They didn't see anything, right? They just saw him running. So if you don't see him run, if you don't see him going into a house, you didn't see him commit a burglary, you didn't even see him commit criminal trespass, and you're chasing him. And yesterday's testimony, for those of you who don't know, they stopped him 5 times, right? They attempted to stop him 5 times. If that's the case, I don't know how you get a justified citizen's arrest, right? With these facts, it doesn't seem like they even knew what they were arresting him for. They didn't know anything. But you can't, and just I don't want to belabor the point, but you can't just run someone down and then consider, you can't just chase someone down and then say, oh, well, but I didn't know why I was chasing them down for, right? That's wow. That 5 times is in dispute. It may be. I think it is, but yeah, still, if he's telling people he doesn't know why he was chasing them, that's pretty damning. This is damaging testimony.
Says, that's just it, I don't know. That's what I told what's her name out there. Do you have any idea who what's her name out there is?
I'm assuming at the time it was Sergeant Oliver.
Okay. So he's talking about, I was telling a law enforcement officer out there that they needed to go figure out what he might have done.
Yes.
Okay.
So now he's telling police, you got to go figure out what he's done. We stopped him, we killed him, but we don't know what he's done. Go figure it out.
I'm going to go ahead and direct your attention then to the very next page 60 of the transcript.
Yeah, I think at this point we kind of all know why they were stopping him. Yeah.
Direct your attention specifically to line 7. What did you ask him?
Have you ever seen him before?
He's not.
And when you say, have you ever seen him before, who are you referring to?
Ahmaud Arbery. At the time, we didn't know his identity.
So you didn't know what his name was at this time. So have you ever seen him before? What did Greg McMichael say?
No, that's legal.
No.
You can follow who
I've
you
never
want.
laid eyes on the guy.
You then say, okay. What does Mr. McMichael then say?
Nobody in that neighborhood,
of
or at
course.
least nobody that has seen the video that this guy has a clue who he is.
Okay. I know that was difficult. Okay. So nobody in that neighborhood, or at least nobody that has seen the video that this guy has a clue who he is.
Yes.
All right. What did you ask next?
Barnes made some good points in that it's not.
Did he put it
it's
out on
hard
Facebook or something?
to
The video?
not prove
Now,
self-defense.
who
So
is
it's true.
he that
It
you're
is.
talking about? Did he put it out on?
But I got to hear Barnes's
The owner of the house under
rendition.
construction.
Because Barnes,
Right.
I don't know.
What was
I don't know
Mr. Greg
Barnes
McMichael's
says.
response?
I got to listen to what Barnes says.
I don't know. He may have, but
Okay. So he says, I don't know about this video being put out on Facebook.
correct.
If Barnes's opinion is that you can
And
stop
then did you
someone in
ask,
the street,
how many people in the neighborhood have seen
point a
this
gun
video?
at them and kill them,
What
and
was
they
his
claim
response?
self-defense.
I know that
think
Diego
Barnes is-
has, and
I've overthought Barnes's
And then you're asking who Diego
legal
was, right?
acumen.
is Diego the guy the other
That makes
guy
no sense.
that came in? He says, Greg Michael says, no, that is,
So then you asked him who Diego was, right?
yes.
All right. So going on to the next page at the top, you ask him who Diego is on line 3. What does Greg McMichael say so he can tell you who Diego is?
Diego is the little short Hispanic guy that lives like 2 doors down from that open house, the construction house.
All right. Was he able to give you Diego's last name?
No, I don't believe so.
So I'm going to go ahead and then direct your attention to specifically page 65. And at this point in time, are you asking Greg McMichael to speculate as to what was going through the mind of Ahmaud Arbery? If you look at the line on page 64, would that help refresh your recollection about what you're talking about here?
Which line?
Take a look at lines 22 through 24 on page 64.
Well, Barnes is different. They were in a commission of a felony. It's like you got to look at if you're robbing a bank.
Yes.
Okay.
You
So
know,
when asking Greg McMichael to speculate about what's going through the mind of Ahmaud Arbery, what does Greg McMichael say on lines 3 through 6?
He was trapped like a rat. I think he was wanting to flee, and he realized that something, he was not going to get away.
Okay. And then I think you indicated, and well, I'll ask you, what did you then?
well, hold on. Being trapped like a rat and not being able to get away is something, dude. That's crazy in itself. This person says, do you think a rational person would attack a person with a gun? Yes. If someone is hunting me down and I'm running away from them, and then when they point the gun at me, I run away from them, and then they follow me and they point the gun at me again, and I'm close enough to grab the gun, I will grab the gun. Yes, a rational person who's attacking me with a gun and is following me and comes to get close to me, close enough where I can grab the gun, I am going to grab that gun. Yes, I believe that's rational to do. Yes, I believe that's rational to do. And for all these people out there who believe that it's okay to hunt people down with guns, right? They maybe I'm missing something. He attacked the dude with the gun. Case closed. Yeah, he attacked the dude with the gun. That's true. It is case closed. You don't get self-defense. You can't go and chase someone down, point the gun at them, and when they defend themselves against you, claim self-defense. You can't rob a bank, point the gun at people, and then when a security guard shoots and you kill that security guard, you claim self-defense. Unless you're just saying it's because of race. If you're saying, well, it's because he's black and all that stuff, then you got another problem. But let's think about this rationally. You can't hunt people down, point guns at them, and then when they defend themselves, claim self-defense. That's not how it works. Just like if they were robbing a bank, right? I think some of these, there's a legal reality here, but then you also got to just think rationally here. Especially when they say we just they're chasing them down for nothing. He's trapped like a rat.
He was not going to get away.
Let's start using our heads.
What'd you say?
Yeah, but he could have run around your son, right?
What's he say?
Sure.
Okay. And then what'd you say?
From what I can tell in the video, the whole road is there.
So you had seen the video at this point in time that you're talking to Greg McMichael.
I had seen it.
Well, hold on. He said you're trapped.
What I can tell in the video, the whole road is there.
So you had seen the video at this.
I can tell. Sure.
Okay. And then what'd you say? He was not going to get away.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, but he could have run around your son, right?
What's he say?
Sure.
I think he stated, and well, I'll ask you, what did you then say to him based on this? He was trapped like a rat. I think he was wanting to flee, and he realized he was not going to get away.
So they're admitting that they trapped him when he couldn't get away.
Run around your son, right?
What's he say?
Sure.
And he was trying to run away.
What'd you say?
From what I can tell in the video, the whole road is there.
So you had seen the video at this point in time that you're talking to Greg McMichael.
Yeah, I don't see how you get self-defense. I think
briefly.
I don't see how you get self-defense here.
So at that point in
He's
time,
trying
was
to
Greg
run away.
McMichael say
We
to you?
trapped him like a rat.
Lines 12 through 16.
Oh yeah. And he was much faster than Travis would ever be. He had opportunity to flee further. We had chased him around the neighborhood a bit, but he wasn't winded at all. Continue.
And then what's the next line? Just on 16,
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why people think that
he
you
was a
could just
good
chase
shit.
people down with guns and when confronting them,
Now-
you can kill them if they are scared. If they try to
After
defend
speaking
themselves.
with
It
Greg
doesn't make any
McMichael,
sense.
was
It's
Greg
almost
McMichael
like-
then free to leave, and did
It
he in
sounds
fact
like
leave?
like
Yes.
the debate I had yesterday with this crazy leftist who thought Rittenhouse was guilty. It's just like, really?
pass the
Are
witness,
people really that crazy? Like, this is kind of insane. People even think this way. Hunting people down with guns, and when the person defends themselves, I can claim self-defense. No, that's ridiculous. Chasing someone down for nothing, right? He doesn't know what he's chasing them down for anyway. I'll put a. I feel like putting a link in the.
I'm Frank
put a
Hogue. I
tool in the chat.
represent Greg McMichael. This is Laura Hogue, my wife and law partner. She represents him with me. I just have a few questions for you today. And I want to go back to where you were with the state just now. And let's start, excuse me. Let's start on page 59. And you were asked to read the section from lines 2 to 13. You tell me when you're with me. And this is the topic concerning no clue who he was. He referring to Ahmaud Arbery at that time on that date when this all happened, right? Got the context?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I was looking at the page.
Okay. This is a section where, and I just called it no clue who he was. That was the point of it, right? The section you read.
Right.
All right, well, we can reread it then if summing it up isn't good enough.
Let's just make sure he's on the same page. You're
All
fine.
right, you're at page 59, line 2. Go ahead and read 2 through 13 to yourself. That's what you read to the jury just a few minutes ago. Particularly lines 8 through 13, where Greg McMichael is telling you, that's just it. I don't know. That's what I told. And you said it was Sergeant Oliver that he was talking
You
to.
can't chase somebody.
What's her name? He said, I said, listen, you might want to go
They
knock
have
on
a case if
doors.
they witness some-
Because
Yes,
this guy's just
yes,
done
they would have.
something that
They
he
would
was
definitely
fleeing
have a case.
from. I don't
And it would
know,
consider
you
and
know,
the
he
seriousness
might
of
have
it.
gone in somebody's house. And your understanding in the context was when Mr. McMichael's telling you, I don't know, he didn't know the person's name.
Objection. As to this officer's understanding of the context, it's not relevant.
Like
It's
doing a
context
bank
of
robbery.
what
When
Mr.
does the
McMichael
clock
was
reset during a
saying
bank
to
robbery?
him that I'm trying
Remember,
to
the whole
establish.
thing is a false arrest. The whole thing is
You're
they're trying to falsely
Asking him
imprison
about
him for the
what Greg
whole
McMichael
time.
was thinking.
So at
to
what
explain
point
his
during a
statements.
false
It's
arrest
just
does it
rely
switch
upon his
back? It
statements.
doesn't.
If it's relevant in any other way, that's fine. But let's not have this witness characterize somebody else's statements. Statements in record.
Nah, you
All right.
don't. You don't go to the
Mr.
bank and just say the
McMichael
time
couldn't
resets
tell you
at the bank.
Ahmaud Arbery's name, could he?
Correct.
Because he said he didn't know his name, didn't he?
Correct.
All
And
right.
the seriousness of the crime doesn't matter.
Well, let's
You
go
can't
on
hunt
with
people
that
down and
page
kill
to
them
get further
for
context here.
jaywalking, right?
You go on to ask him, I'm at line 14. You were the first one to see him? That was a question from you. And Mr. McMichael said, yeah, well, I guess I don't know if somebody else saw him running, think anything about it. But when he came past my house,
Objection. Mr. Hogue is just now reading this section as opposed to asking this officer what it is. In addition, it has absolutely nothing to do.
Oh, no,
not
it's
real
killed
police,
him.
has nothing to do with what
The
was
poll is
above
right.
At all.
It's killed him.
We're talking about
Because he
context
was
for
killed.
statements.
I didn't
He
say
said
murder.
these are
He
words
didn't,
of Greg McMichael.
because that's
They
what we're
come
trying to
in
figure
a
out now.
couple different
But to
ways.
kill them.
Let's get to the context.
The poll is
question.
right.
How's that? Let's make sure. Let's skip to the question part of it.
this is a question. This is what Greg McMichael was saying to you immediately after telling you he didn't know the name of the person he saw running in his neighborhood, right? That's the context of what we're talking about. Correct?
As far as line 16 on?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And so what I'm doing with you, Investigator Nohili, is I'm just reading the words on the transcript and you're affirming, yes, that's what Greg McMichael said to me. That's the form of all these questions. All right. You with me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. So going on, he says, but when he came past my house, he met the description of the guy that Travis had seen run in that empty house, 2 weeks ago or however long ago it was.
Mhm.
You say, yeah. And Mr. McMichael, so far I'm reading accurately, am I not?
Yes.
And then line 23, Greg McMichael, I mean, to a T. Plus he met the description of the video I had seen of this guy being in there. Short dreads, and go over to line 1 on page 60. You say, yeah. And then Mr. Greg McMichael says, white t-shirt, short pants. I mean, plus he was hauling ass. And this, he was running like people don't run normally. He wasn't out for no Sunday jog. He was getting the hell out of there. I read all that accurately.
Mhm.
Yes.
And in context, even though he's told you he doesn't know this person's name, he's telling you in effect why he suspected him and then
Objection.
chased
One
him.
question, characterization.
That's the statement.
Mm.
Okay, you understood what he was talking about, right? And you were involved in the conversation, and the words he was conveying back to you in response to your questions to him were understandable to you, were they not? You knew what he was talking about.
Yes.
Okay, very good, sir. Now, let's go over to page 65, the other part of the transcript the state just reviewed.
All right. Listen, N7, you can't, what you're saying is take out the initial bank robbery, right? For a bank robbery suspect. You have to look at the thing in context. They were chasing him for a long amount of time, right? They were chasing him for a long amount of time. That whole thing was what's known as was attempted false imprisonment. They were attempting to falsely imprison him because they were not justified in self-defense. This is what you're trying to figure out now. They were trying to effectuate a citizen's arrest based on nothing. So that whole pursuit was not justified from beginning to end. So just to say, well, let's look at the last part of it. It's just like saying, well, the robbing of the bank, we're only going to look at the part when the bank robbers shoot the security guard, right? That doesn't make any sense. He ran toward him, as we heard yesterday. He was running toward him, and he evaded them, right? He didn't run at the gun. He just didn't make a straight run at the gun. He didn't run and lunge at the gun. He ran and ran away, and the person with the gun confronted him again. So let's not just make up facts to try to make it seem like something else, right? This is what happened in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. People were trying to make up facts to make sure we can believe he's guilty. That is not the case here. You can't chase people down, gun them down, and then claim self-defense because you have to have a legal right to even point the gun. Pointing guns at people are illegal. Now, N7, if you don't believe pointing loaded guns at people is illegal, then maybe I am not understanding your legal acumen. Pointing loaded guns at people is illegal in of itself. Chasing people down with loaded weapons is illegal in of itself. So you got to be reasonable here. Let's take and please take race out of it. Let's believe Ahmaud Arbery was white because that may be coloring a lot of opinion in here. Not from you, but from everybody in here. Let's take race out of it, please. Hey, Nate, thanks for streaming and educating people. My question is on who's on the stand? Thank you. This is the sergeant who responded that day. Yeah, I think people are coloring this race the other way now, right? Because he's black, we can gun him down. When it was with Rittenhouse, because he's white, he's guilty of gunning people down. No,
they read the part on ridiculous. 65, page 3, line 3 rather, down to line 16. And at line 16 is where the conversation was in the middle of Greg McMichael's comments to you about Ahmaud Arbery, where he said, I mean, this guy, he was in good shape. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. And then he goes on to say in that same context, completing his thoughts to you, and there was no hesitation on his part when it came to Travis. I mean, his intention was to grab that gun and probably shoot Travis. That's in my mind. That's what I saw, And with that in mind, if he had gotten that shotgun and there was any separation between Travis and him, I was going to cap his ass. And you understood he was describing to you the fight right at the very end of the confrontation that you perhaps had seen on video by this point. Is that what you understood the context of this?
Yeah, Zimmerman didn't chase Trayvon. Zimmerman wasn't chasing Trayvon.
His understanding of the context. These are just the words of Greg McMichael. His understanding is not relevant.
Well, then that is the context in which he's saying these words. He's describing the final encounter between Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah, he was not
Travis,
a jogger. That's fake news too. That jogging narrative is fake news.
Travis.
That's what I'm saying. If CNN saying he's a jogger,
that's what he's
saying.
Right?
That's fake news.
Not testifying.
So let's, again, this statement is coming to the witness. The statement's in. For context, you can ask the
it's clear. Rittenhouse is being chased.
But let's let the words.
He's got the gun. Okay. Now you're chasing somebody who doesn't have a gun. It's like people just
understand.
But again, I understand Rittenhouse is white, so some certain segments of the population are going to say, well, even if he had a gun being chased, he's
you understood what he was
describing
was his own thoughts. That he was about to see his own son
chased with people with
shot
guns.
and killed by Ahmaud Arbery.
I don't
with
think
his
people
own
are
shotgun.
understanding the difference here in this particular case.
Speculation as to what this means by Greg McMichael.
At this point, we're simply asking what the witness understood based on his interview with Mr. McMichael. Go ahead.
You need me to repeat it? You're allowed to answer. Okay. In the context of this conversation, you understood Greg McMichael to be telling you that what he thought when he was watching Ahmaud Arbery attack his son.
Objection, mischaracterization. Counsel's testifying that is not at all what Greg McMichael said. Didn't use the word attack at all.
Okay, I'll use his words. His intention was to grab that shotgun and probably shoot Travis. That's in my mind. Those were his words, right?
Yes.
That was good.
And you understood that what he was conveying to you was that he thought he was about to witness his son's death at the hands of Ahmaud Arbery.
Objection, speculation.
Yeah, the statement speaks for itself. It's sustained.
All right. Go over to page
You have to be
67.
100% right, yeah.
See if we can
You
get
don't
through this
recover the
one.
right to self-defense
Objection, anything on 67?
when you're in the middle of a bank robbery, right? You know, the guard pointed the gun at me, so I shot him. No, you're in the middle. You're literally in the
That's
middle
not
of
the
trying
case,
to
Mayor. If I need to defend it,
criminally
go out with the
detain
jury,
somebody,
I'll
right?
do so.
Let me go ahead and see
You don't. It's like me trying to kidnap a woman, and she shoot, and I
let me
point a
see if
gun
I
at her,
have-
and she
I
grabs
have
the
notes
gun,
written on
and I
here.
kill her. Oh, she was serious, at that point,
Does anyone just have a clean
I'm
copy?
right. No,
It's the easiest way to do it.
no.
Nobody's got a clean copy of page
Yes,
67?
Judge, I do have a copy for you.
I'm trying to see what he's trying to get. I think the defense attorney is trying to get out this witness that the defendant believed
Okay, you can have it, Judge.
that. Well, first they said they believed he had a gun. Now they're saying he's grabbing for the gun, and I understand that if you're grabbing for the gun,
Problem is every time
now
I
you got
move,
a
I pull the cord
situation.
out.
But it's still hard. It's
Now,
still
at
hard.
Page 67, lines 8 through 17.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you think if Ahmaud had gone to the right after running by the truck? Possibly. But they had been chasing him for what, the past 10, 15 minutes? They
8
kept
through
they kept
18.
chasing him, right? So
And
he
67%.
ran like 5 or
67
6
lines,
times. They were
8
trying to
through
chase him. So
17.
I don't know. Maybe they would have tried to confront him again, right? These people wanted to stop.
Okay.
They were trying to stop him and
I'll
detain
do
him.
the question.
So maybe not, right? How many times do you allow somebody to chase you around the neighborhood?
Now, before we
eventually they
read it,
confront you.
Investigator Nohilly, in your 20 years
No,
experience and in your
I
training
can't
and
say that. I
education,
don't know.
You've heard of a phenomenon before called auditory exclusion, where a person is so focused in a traumatic event.
Yeah,
their
my bias is
vision
showing that
might-
you can't chase someone with guns and kill them and shoot them, and you can't chase someone with a gun.
I have you on
And try-
cross-examination.
yeah, that's it's a
Leading
bias.
questions are allowed
Unfortunately,
under
I'm
24, 6,
sorry.
11, B, and C. We can
I'm
look
being
that up.
rational
These are
here.
proper
I'm trying to at
questions.
least trying to be
But
rational.
you asked him whether he knows what something was, and you're about to define it for him. That's the
To-
objection
to
to the
give-
question.
Yeah, to give him the orientation of what I'm talking about. He might know it by some other term. It has several different terms. I've used one of those terms. Do you know auditory exclusion? Have you heard of that one?
I have. I don't recall what it means.
Well, let me help see if this refreshes your recollection. You've heard of it. It's the occasion when a person in a traumatic situation,
Objection. At this point, counsel is testifying by telling him what this means.
it's a leading question.
So
When did the chase end? I don't see when the chase ended. They were
So an
they
auditory
even saying they were
exclusion,
chasing him.
You're in a traumatic
Again,
situation.
if you're gonna
know
make
your
stuff up,
senses, your
they are saying
vision
they were chasing him all the way to the
will
end. That's why
retain
they
its
were
best
chasing
abilities,
him.
But your hearing
The
and other
chase ended.
senses,
Come on, please.
auditory hearing in
Yeah,
particular,
come on.
might tune out sounds and you don't hear and you don't
The
recall
chase ended. He was like,
accurately,
"Oh,
but
we
you can
chased him
also
all the way to the
describe
end, but the
what you
chase
saw
ended."
and not
What do you
you
say?
heard.
Come on, please. Come
That's what you recall from your
Let's not
training.
stretch
That happens
this.
sometimes to people
Let's just focus
in
on what they're
highly
saying
traumatic
and
or
the evidence
unusual
that's being
situations,
presented.
like a shooting.
The
I don't
chase
recall.
ended.
That's
It's like, no,
exactly what
we
Is
chased
it-
him,
is
so
it a
we shot
phenomenon
him. It's
you're
like, what?
familiar
The chase
with by
ended.
whatever name?
The term, yes.
Okay. So let's go to this
Chase
paragraph
ended.
here.
Who's telling you guys?
67 page or line 8.
It's literally in
You
his chest.
asked
We
Greg
chased him
McMichael,
down until he said
was
we were
he
going to
hit
stop him.
all 3 times? Or now the he is Ahmaud Arbery, right?
Yes.
And the hit means hit with 3 shots from Travis's shotgun, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And Greg
It's like
McMichael
he chased him
answers,
after he stopped
there was
him.
only 2 shots.
I don't know.
See that?
Yes,
And you say, no, there were 3, right?
correct.
And he says, were there 3 shots? Asks you that, right?
Yes,
And you say, on the video, it sounds like there's 3. You've seen the video, right?
yes.
Sounds like there's 3. Greg McMichael says, I don't think so. I mean, it may have been 3. I don't know. But like I say, it was a fur ball. It was a hair ball. But he thought he heard 2 and you heard 3 and there's 3 on the video, right?
From what I remember, yes.
Yeah. And when you probably arrested many people through your 20-year career, right?
I have.
And when you do that and you try to keep the person from fleeing from you, you will use verbal commands like stop, don't run, stay where you are, that kind of thing.
Yes,
And if you have to raise your voice to give a stronger verbal command, you will do that.
yes,
And if the person is still not compliant, you'll sometimes draw your weapon if you need to, won't you?
only in certain circumstances.
Like when they're not listening to you in your verbal commands, not stopping.
No,
Yeah, you
No,
don't draw.
what?
That's a bad
no, I
question.
don't just pull my gun.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bad
You'll
question.
do other steps before you pull your gun to get them to comply with you.
Yes,
You don't just pull your
Like,
gun on somebody who's
What, raising your voice even higher, louder?
That was a horrible
Maybe.
question.
All right. Well, you'll do whatever the circumstances require. You're not just gonna forget about it and go home, all right?
correct.
All right. And if the person is still not complying with your verbal commands, and you're waiting for someone to come back you up, like other police officers, at some point, if you think the person is either going to attack you or flee, you will use your weapon, will you not?
Not always, no.
If the person is attacking you,
Depends on how he's attacking me.
Yeah, you don't.
all right,
You don't just pull your
if you
gun.
have a gun on you and the person is attacking you, you would have a concern that the person might take your gun from you and use it to harm you or kill you.
Once again, it depends on the circumstances and the person.
All right. If the circumstance includes being attacked by someone who seems to be trying to take your gun from you, putting his hands on it, you might use your gun, wouldn't you?
Oh,
At that point, it might meet the threshold, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ernanil.
The hand of one is the hand of all. I'm not sure what that means.
Mr. Ship, yes.
You don't have to super chat that bad. Just please, just clarify it, Christy. If I see it, I'll
I don't believe so.
respond to it.
I'd like to talk generally with you about investigation and your role in this particular investigation. Was it that you were charged with, I will do it. Was it that you were charged with gathering just information from Greg McMichael and Travis McMichael? And that was the sole job that you had in this particular case?
Yes,
Just to perform the interviews?
yes,
Okay. And you were directed to do so by Investigator Lowry?
Yeah, this is felony
I'm not
murder.
sure
Yes,
exactly. I
yes,
was
yes,
told to
yes.
see, but
But I don't know. Guilty for one doesn't mean guilty for all three. Each one has to be found independently.
I was told, I'm not sure exactly by who, I think it was one of my supervisors possibly to go.
You
to
could have the
station.
part where one is not found not guilty,
Prior
and
to
the other
the
two are found guilty,
interviews,
or
though,
vice
you had a
versa.
debriefing with whomever was in charge so that they could give you some background information about what had happened that day based on their observations?
No,
So did you go into these interviews not knowing what had happened out there in Satilla Shores?
correct.
Literally, you didn't know the
Outside
order of
seeing,
events or anything like that?
right, outside seeing that video.
Okay,
Mm.
so seeing the video, the video that you saw, did it include Mr. Arbery running and then turning around and the driver of the car dropping the phone for about a minute and then it being picked back up and then filming as Mr. Arbery comes around the corner towards the shooting? Or did you just see the shooting?
I think I just saw the shooting part of
It's
it.
not even the entire video.
Right, I didn't see it.
Okay, so you're stepping into a situation where you really don't know much other than that there's been a shooting.
Correct.
And did you say you were on the scene that day?
I'd gone up to the scene,
You were
yes,
gone. How long were you on the scene before you left to go do interviews?
like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, so you're really kind of an open book when you head into these interviews, not having anything in
That's
your
what
mind
we're
that
trying
you're
to find out.
get
That's the
of these
ultimate
interviews. It's just that you're trying to understand
question
how.
of the trial.
Correct.
Okay, so in your mind then, you are trying to understand the dynamics
I did
of
send it to
what
Nick.
Greg McMichael and Travis McMichael were doing out there that day.
Correct.
And what Mr. Arbery was doing out there that day.
Correct.
What Greg McMichael's intent was, based on whatever he told you, right?
Correct.
You conducted an interview with Travis McMichael as well, so what Travis McMichael's intent was out there that day.
I'm going to object at this time. We're not going to use Travis McMichael's interview at all. So I don't know why we're talking about it this way.
Just has to be done it.
Yeah, he's interviewed Travis McMichael, I'm gonna ask him. I'm not gonna get in statements made.
Okay, all right.
You were trying to determine what Travis McMichael's intent was that day,
Correct.
and what Mr. Arbery's intent was that day.
Correct.
Okay. In doing so, you got some information about ongoing crime in the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
people need to stop saying Arbery was a jogger. He was not a jogger. We got to
When you
stop
talked
with
to
the
Greg,
misinformation.
you got
Arbery was
information
not
that
just
there
an
was some
innocent
ongoing
jogger.
crime
You
in the
don't
neighborhood.
jog in the middle of the night. That's just
You'll
not
have to correct me
happening.
the line. I don't recall exactly.
You don't jog in
Just
Thames.
as you sit here, do you recall
He
whether
was-
or not you talked?
I don't know what the hell he was doing there that day, but he was not no innocent jogger. That
Yes,
doesn't mean he
yes.
should be gunned
Okay.
down though. But he was
Did
not
you
no innocent
endeavor
jogger.
after this
That's a
interview to
net-
go
that's a
and follow
false
up
narrative.
about the crime in the neighborhood, to pull any reports or anything like that?
I don't think it was me that did it. I think I passed that on information on to other investigators and they did.
Okay, that's fine. You didn't do it, that's fine. In
2
stepping
a.m. in the morning?
into
3
a
a.m. in the morning?
situation where you're going to be conducting an interview,
You a hell of a
the
jogger.
person just involved.
I don't jog.
in
I'm in the
violent
middle of the night. Maybe
situation
early in the
like
morning.
this one.
Early in the
You
morning I
have been
have
trained
sometimes.
how to interview.
And I'm not jogging into people's homes
Right.
either. That's another
Right.
thing. 4 times in a
You
row.
have some basic training that you go through about how to interview people. Have you had more advanced training on how to conduct interviews of suspects or people involved in traumatic
Oh
situations?
wow! So people go jogging at 3 a.m.
Is it fair to say that
I'm
it's
assuming you're not going
important
jogging
to
in
have
people's
that
houses
training
though.
because interviewing someone can be a bit of a chaotic experience.
I've seen almost all
Correct.
your videos.
The person that you're interviewing could be all over the map in terms of
Oh, thank you,
the
thank you,
timeline
thank you
of
so much.
the event.
Correct.
You may have to stop them because it can get very confusing and kind of redirect them back to moments that they can then break down and further explain to you.
Correct.
And is it fair to say that your training has helped you become the person kind of in charge of that process,
Correct.
to help that person through their statement so that it can ultimately be understood by you?
Correct.
Because what you know is that whatever the garbled or asynchronous timeline that you could get needs to be understood eventually by lawyers in the case.
Correct.
So you may have to follow back up on something to get more clarity so that it can be further fleshed out.
Yes.
And not only do you know that the lawyers in the case are going to rely on it, but you know that it's going to be used here in court possibly.
Correct.
And that the work that you're doing to flush out these subjects and to dig deeper into what's being said is possibly going to need to be understood by the court as well as a jury.
Yes.
All right, so you're going to do your best to try
Yes.
to
I pursue
follow
and I
up on
follow.
things so
I don't
that the interview
confront.
that you conduct is as
Yes.
accurate and complete
On the
and
phone,
truthful as it can
Pursue.
be.
He's here. He's here. He's
Correct.
here. He's
Okay.
here. He's here. Not gun and confront. I might have the gun. So if he turns around, Trayvon Martin, for instance, maybe we got a
And
problem.
you did interview Travis.
But no, I don't confront. I don't confront. I don't try to arrest.
Yes.
You spent
I
a
get on the
good
phone and
bit
tell
of time
people,
with
please
him, maybe
raise
an
up.
hour or longer.
Yes.
He
If I
was
confront
speaking
them and I'm
quickly
wrong,
during
I've
that
committed a
interview at
crime.
times, wasn't he?
Then I'm going to, once again, we're not introducing the statements of Travis McMichael. So going through all of this, I would object as it's not relevant.
Here's what's interesting. He conducted an interview.
I object to
Oh, yeah.
speaking.
Yeah, okay. Let me, because I think I need to work out exactly what's going on here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and step into the jury room for just a moment while we address the matters before the court.
All right for the jury.
No, they confronted him. They were trying. They said they were trying to stop him to make a citizen's arrest. They weren't just following him and just telling people where they were at. They were trying to stop him. There was like 5 or 6 times they actually tried to apprehend him. So no, they weren't just following and looking. They were trying to apprehend. And in that trying to apprehend him, he died. That's the difference. Following and looking is one thing. Apprehending and putting hands on somebody, that's a whole different story. When you get out if I get out the car and put a gun and say stop,
Sergeant, if I
or
get
I'll
you to
shoot.
just step down, if you just step out of the
That's not
courtroom, we'll
following.
bring you back in for further testimony.
Again, that's what the defense attorney said. The defense attorney said they took the shotgun out and said, stop or I'll blow your, I'll stop, right? Stop. That's not following somebody. That's just is not. Oof, I check Strava, Garmin, and MyFitnessPal, but did not find an account for him. If he did jog,
Okay, somebody give me a little
he didn't
context
track
here.
on typical apps.
Sure.
Probably didn't track it at all.
Well, hold on. Maybe the better way to do it. Let me explain what I understand. And I get so Travis McMichael's statement, I'm guessing, is not being used because it's just there's too many issues to work through with Bruton that it's just not being used. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Yesterday morning, we informed the defense that we had made a decision not to tender or present any statements of Travis McMichael once they informed us that they basically wanted the entire thing in for rule of completeness. And we made the decision and informed them we're not tendering in Travis McMichael's statement at all, as currently right now hearsay. I talked with Mr. Rubin this morning and I said, listen, I don't even want to go into the fact that he went ahead and interviewed Travis McMichael because we're not tendering it in. Because now the jury is looking at us like we're hiding his statement. And my fear, of course, is that I'll back up. The state's a little frustrated because the state has endeavored to communicate to the defense that we were not going to put this in. In fact, this morning I told Mr. Rubin, I'm not even going to ask this witness about Travis McMichael's statement at all. I'm going to just strictly have him on the stand to talk about Greg McMichael. I informed
just so everybody understands what's going on here. Okay, since we have 3 defendants being tried jointly, right? They're each being tried at the same time. They're trying to avoid the thing where one defendant says, "Okay, I did it," and by implication, the jury's going to say, "Well, they all are guilty," right? Because each defendant, even though they're being tried at the same time, the jury has to make a determination for each defendant. So that's what Bruton really tries to stop, is that even though the Travis McMichael's made some statements that are damning to him, but they don't want it to be damning to remember the other guy who was running around chasing me in a car? So that's what they're trying to say. Like the prosecution said, okay, because they have all these incriminating stuff against Travis McMichael's, we said we're not going to present it because we'd have that Bruton issue. And we told them that we're not going to present it. But now the defense is bringing it up as if we're trying to hide it. But it doesn't actually hurt our case. It hurts their case. That's the reason why we're not bringing it up.
informed them of that. And I was told, that's fine. We can
helps.
recall him at a time if it becomes necessary, if Travis McMichael takes the stand. So at this point in time, having not gone into it, the state's fear is that it appears to the jury that, oh, there's this statement of Travis McMichael out there. And I've been put in the position of having to object about the contents of it and tell them we're not tendering it, which of course makes it look like the state's hiding this statement from them when that's not the intention. The state's been put in an awkward position. The state would like a curative instruction, and that's what we're asking for.
Okay. So as I understand it, the state asked to put in certain statements of Travis McMichael. We responded and said, we think this helps the rule of completeness. They chose not to put the statement in, and I'm not offering any of his statement. I'm not going to say anything that Travis McMichael said, although there are probably some exceptions under excited utterance. I'm still not putting those in. That being said, the state's decision not to tell the jury that he was even interviewed, that's on them. I'm not hiding something. It would be as if in a car accident case, a police officer testifies about something through the plaintiff, and the defense comes up and says, hey, officer, didn't you also talk to a witness, and didn't you also collect this information, and didn't you also investigate these other things? They chose not to bring it up. I'm not doing anything that's untoward. I'm simply informing the jury that, number one, he was interviewed. Number two, certain conduct and behavior was seen by this officer that he voluntarily cooperated in the interview.
Okay, we're not going to get into the problem with asking him about the way he was reacting is it opens the door to what questions were being asked at the time and the context of those reactions, which then possibly gets us into the statement. That's my concern about that. The fact that he was interviewed, that's fine, or the fact that he cooperated. it's fine. But once we start describing his actions during the interview, I'm not sure how you separate that from what was going on in the interview at the time.
He appeared stressed. He was speaking quickly. Those are my questions.
In an hour-long interview, at what point during the interview, what was he being asked about?
I'm not going to go into that. And the jury's left without the information about it. But Judge, that doesn't make it impermissible. I would say to the court, doesn't make it
Without
impermissible.
the context, because I understand the statement's not coming in. We're not going to talk about it. It's an hour-long statement. I don't know, and the jury doesn't know what was going on at the moments that he could possibly be described, because what you are implying is that during that entire 1 hour period, he was acting exactly the same way.
I can clear that up. I mean, I feel like the court is telling me how to conduct. If the subject matter is relevant, that's my.
I don't believe it is, because without the statement coming in, describing his conduct while giving that statement without explaining what the statement is, the court finds impermissible. So the beginning of this and the end of that, I don't know, the court is going to allow you to go into, but as far as what he was doing, how this officer was perceiving his reactions, we're not going to get into that. Did he cooperate? Sure. Did he give a statement? That's fine.
Will the court allow me to ask the witness the subjects that he inquired of?
No, because then we're getting into the statement.
That he asked about, not what Travis said in response.
Because then we're getting into the statement.
Okay.
Get into the statement. Yeah, even the question.
I think those would be permissible areas, but I'll follow the ruling of the court and I won't ask those questions.
Let's,
Yeah, I would like to say, in light of the state's comments, that it was the Bruton problem that primarily drove their decision not to go into any of Travis McMichael's statement. Bruton problem, of course, being that he would incriminate Greg McMichael. We don't have a Bruton problem in Travis McMichael's statement. There's many parts of it that have been highlighted in yellow that were worked out. It looks to me like every bit as much.
So
as was
the
in Greg
other
McMichael's
defendant
statement that we
is
just
saying,
had
like his,
part of yesterday and part of today doing.
I think his
So
father's
our
saying we don't have.
position
Oh,
is
Travis
that
McMichael's
for
lawyer is
us,
saying they don't
I
have
was
this
under the
issue.
impression that it was probably not going to be introduced because it's so exculpatory, and that the state was making the decision, well, he'll have to get up there and tell his story himself. We're not going to do it through our witness. But if it's a Bruton problem, then any issue we have made before regarding Travis McMichael's statement with respect to Bruton, we withdraw.
Okay,
So
so now what
that's
about
not
the
an
last
impediment
defendant? So
for
the last
our
defendant's now going to have to
client.
do that too. Is the last defendant withdrawing the Bruton issue?
But that may cure it for the state. They may want to get back up and do it. But I don't know
Your
where
Honor.
we are.
Travis McMichael's statement is hearsay. It would come in if the state chose to tender it as the statement of a party opponent. The state is choosing not to tender it as a statement of a party opponent. So none of those issues apply. It's the state's decision not to tender in that hearsay under that exception.
that sounds like it doesn't change where the court is on it.
Yeah, and I've asked the court. There's no need for curative instruction at this point.
Yeah, we're just going to bring the panel
Also,
back in.
real quickly, Judge, I was also going to ask him whether or not Travis demonstrated positions with how he was holding the firearm. And that demonstration, again, I thought would be not a statement, but just in response to the question of how he just demonstrated certain things for him, that he cooperated, he demonstrated, he spoke, those kinds of things.
Yeah, the court would be consistent. Again, to explain the context of that, you'd have to get into the statement, why he was doing that at a particular time and what the questions were that led him to that. So again, that gets into the statement itself.
So I will not do it based on the court saying I can't, I may not, I cannot.
All right. So beyond the Bruton issue, so all right. So this is for you legal scholars out there. So beyond the issue of Bruton, right? The fact that the other defendants he didn't do it. The statement is also hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement that'll be offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So what happens is there's a hearsay exception about party opponents, where if you're on where the defendant's statements outside of court are not hearsay, they can be brought in. But they can't be brought in by the defendant himself because that's hearsay. They can only be brought in by the prosecution. And the prosecution said, well, listen, even if there's not a Bruton problem, there's also a hearsay problem, and we can bring in those statements because it's a party opponent admission, but they can't bring in the statements under that same exception. And that's true. You can bring in it versus party opponent, but you can't bring it in under that exception. So they had two bites at the apple not to bring it in, and they chose, and they said, well, part one is the Bruton, and then part two is hearsay. So the defendants waive Bruton, which means that if one guy makes an incriminating statement, you can't, it's going to implicate them all. They're saying we waive that. So then they said, well, we're not going to bring it in because it's hearsay, and there's no exception. Boom. Now, Brady, you're talking Brady is something totally that's not applicable to anything. I'm not even going to explain Brady, but Brady is not even applicable here. There's a case. It's the name of a case. It's a Supreme Court case. Look up Bruton v. U.S. They're bringing back in the jury.
losing?
Well, so here I'm thinking we have a lot going on, because let's not forget. So Arbery's running away. There's only all right. So just facts, right? There's only been one reported burglary in this place for like the past 2 years or whatever. Fact. They absolutely didn't know what Arbery was running from. Fact. They didn't even know he committed any crime. Fact. They tried to stop him multiple times before the last encounter. Fact. They pointed a gun at him, a loaded gun at him, and Arbery ran away from that. Facts. Tom Brady versus
Safe be soon. I think you're gonna stand up in just a second. Let's go get the panel.
So there was another fact. They pointed the gun at, loaded the gun at Ahmaud Arbery, and he ran to avoid the gun. Fact. Travis McMichael confronted him again after that. In fact, Ahmaud Arbery lunged at the gun at that particular point in time and was shot. Those are the facts. And that whole transaction, they have admitted that they were trying to arrest him or detain him, not knowing that he had done anything wrong. So that's the rub here. Can you legally arrest somebody or attempt to arrest somebody, not knowing that they did anything wrong in that moment, just because he was suspicious? You're talking about really letting people do a lot. If you have a right to be on the street, at what point does this not make sense? No, because Kyle Rittenhouse was the one being chased. So in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, take the gun and give it to Rosenbaum, and then have the same thing happen. Right? Take the gun and give it to Rosenbaum, and then have the same thing happen. That's what this case is. This case is Arbery would be Kyle Rittenhouse without the gun being chased. And Rosenbaum would be the McMichael with the gun chasing him.
Thank you.
That's what this case is. That's why it's different.
About that you conducted an interview of Travis McMichael.
Yes.
Yes. And one of the things that you
You
do
can't
when
detain
conduct
people.
interview is
You
want to make
can't
sure
just
the
detain
person
people. If
interviewing
you're out there
understands
detaining
that they
people,
don't have to speak,
you are kidnapping them.
right?
You are illegally
Correct.
detaining them.
If
That
we
is
call
not.
this
You
the
do not have the
Miranda
right to detain people
admonition,
willy-nilly.
that
You
they
do not have the right to do that.
to be silent, right?
Correct.
They have the right to a lawyer.
Objection at this point in time, we're going into the interview.
I'm just going to Miranda.
I'll give you some flexibility here, but that's
To be sure, Travis agreed to be interviewed.
Yes.
He cooperated with that interview fully and freely.
Yes.
But one of the things you were asked about just a moment ago is Greg's statement to you and Greg's expressions to you about Mr. Ahmaud Arbery and whether he was trying to run or flee or how he could have run or taken other routes or whatnot. You recall that line of questioning by Mr. Hogue?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever undertake it yourself after speaking with Greg McMichael to try to figure out any background on Mr. Arbery?
I did not.
You did not.
Not me.
Not you, but you're aware that others may have.
Yes.
Okay. Lastly, when you've been an officer for how many years did you say?
Just under 20 years,
20 years doing patrol,
including patrol. Yes.
and you have investigated crimes of break-ins,
I have.
crimes of theft,
I have.
crimes of burglary.
I have.
And one of the things that you've come to understand is that burglary doesn't just happen at night, right?
Correct.
It happens in the middle of the day sometimes,
Yes.
in particular on Sundays.
I don't know, particularly on Sundays.
If you look at page 72, isn't that what you discussed with Greg McMichael? Starting at line 10.
So they can only read Greg McMichael's statements. They can't read Travis McMichael's statements. Yes, people have to understand.
Yes.
And this, if you're
Usually on
analogizing
Sunday.
it to the Rittenhouse case,
Yes, that's what I said.
Arbery is Rittenhouse
Okay.
without the gun. Arbery is Rittenhouse without the gun.
No, Your Honor. Here you are.
The McMichaels are
Sure.
Rosenbaum
After
with the gun.
Investigator No Hilly. Right after you said, usually on Sunday, what did Greg McMichael say?
That's right. That's right.
Then what did he say?
People are home on Sundays.
People are home on Sundays. All right. And at the time of this interview, this was how many hours after the incident had taken place?
A couple hours, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but it was within 2 or 3 hours of the incident.
Okay, so 2 or 3 hours of the incident,
Yes.
you believe? Okay.
Those limited issues.
No, Your Honor. No question.
No, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
That's
Thank
it
you,
for
Your
this
Honor.
witness.
You are excused for the day, but subject to recall.
So this is recall, yes, sir. Thank you.
So this is the part that so this is the part I think the defense has to answer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute recess, and we'll come back for the continuation of evidence in this case.
All right, for sure.
All right. Yeah, see, so this is the part I'm just not understanding. If and I think we need to just maybe move away from this case to try to maybe just understand it without this fog in this case behind us. But at what point can you chase someone to try to effectuate an arrest? Right? What do you need to know ahead of time? So let's say I see someone running down the street. Does it seems like people in the chat think that's enough for me to go get a gun and chase that person based on those facts, right? I see that person
All right,
running
we can have
down the street. Remember, they didn't recognize. He said even though he looks like the guy, he may be the guy,
Thank you, everybody.
but does that fact give me the right to grab a gun and then confront them in the street and say, stop, or I'll blow your head off? Because that was the statement, right? Stop or I'll blow your head off. I don't know how people believe that the McMichaels had that right to do that. And I think that's what the defense has to answer, right? What gave them that right? Now, if they were conducting a citizen's arrest, right? They saw him commit a murder, commit a burglary, right? If they saw that, we have a different case. We have a totally different case, right? If you see him commit a murder and you chase him and you pull that gun out and say, stop or I'll shoot, we have a totally different case. I'm agreeing with the people in the chat that says, yes, if he committed a murder or a burglary in that moment, they're chasing him down for that, and they tried to stop, he didn't stop, you got a legitimate citizen's arrest, you got a legitimate crime, you're good, right? Here, they have admitted, what are you chasing him for? Because he ran. That's not, I don't think that's enough. That is not enough. Let's answer some questions, see what's going on in the chat. Nate, does the state of mind of the pursuer based on previous statements made that an interaction with Arbery went into his pants like he was going to have a gun? Yes, that raised on the reasonableness of use of force, but it still comes to the question of, did you have a legal right to stop? All right, so let's say if I did that, right? I had my hand on my pants and, and now you see me just running down the street for whatever reason. Does the fact that you saw me a month ago with my hand down my pants, right, and you thought I might have had a gun a month ago, does that now give you the right to grab guns, get in front of me, try to stop me from running, right, and then point the gun at me and tell me to stop because you thought I might have had a gun 2 weeks ago? Like, let's understand this going out. I don't know if that's reasonable. It's still not legal in Georgia law. But let's address the fact that the police testified 2 days ago that they wanted to help to stop and question him. That they wanted to help to stop and question him. So the police, so you're saying 2 days ago, the police testified they wanted to help to stop and question him. Yes, fact. The police, right, are authorized under law to stop, question, and frisk. It's a famous case called Terry v. Ohio. Police officers who are sworn under state law, right? They are under state law. That's the reason why they get badges. It's the reason why they have training. And that's the reason why they're allowed under law to be able to detain people who have not committed crimes. It's called a Terry stop. Just look up the constitutional requirement. It's Terry stop. Now, there are 3 levels of stops. There's just a regular interaction that most people have every day with police. But then there's a Terry stop. A Terry stop is when I have a reasonable suspicion that a crime had been committed. So let's change this situation. Let's say the McMichaels were police officers, sworn officers, and the same facts are held. They now see Arbery running down the street. They see someone pointing, stop that man. And the police then chase down Arbery to detain him, right? That would be okay, because the police are authorized under Terry v. Ohio, when they have reasonable suspicion that criminality is afoot, they can stop, detain, and stop. They can stop, they can question, and they can even frisk. So yes, if they were police officers, we have a different set of facts. But since they are not police officers, they are not privy to that. So since they are not police officers, what now gives them the legal right based off just suspicion to stop someone? Well, they can only do so with probable cause. So if they saw him commit the burglary, yes, but they saw nothing. So that's what I'm trying to make. So I think people may have this misunderstanding that, hey, we know police can do it. That automatically means anybody can do it. No. Because police are trained and are able to do stuff under state statute, right? Police can pull people over on the highway. Can regular people do that? No. Right? Just because police can do something doesn't mean regular people can do it. So for some reason, people I think forget this. You know what? It's interesting. Let me see if I can pull up that slide, because I have a use of force slide on this. Let me see if I have it. Oh, force. Let me see if I have this slide. I'll show you guys while we're waiting for them. Where is it? No, it was what was the name of that case? I gotta find it. Yeah, hopefully this will help. What was the name? McLean. Elijah McLean. Let me see. I think I might have had it there when I did that video. This really, if you look at the Elijah McLean video, which is hard to look at, but in that video, it really brings it out. Okay, I found the slides. All right, so we're going to get some law school this morning, for those of you who like the free law school stuff. But I'm about to give you some free law school right now. All right, so here we go, guys. Free law school. Stop sharing that. So I'm about to just educate that this is actually, I did some training on this when I was in law enforcement, but this is hopefully this will clear up a lot of the confusion I think I'm seeing out there, because I think a lot of good-minded people just don't understand the bottom line of this. So let me bring this up to you. Okay, view. Let me present this. Okay, make sure you guys can see this. All right. So first, there are different types of encounters for police. The lowest level of encounter is just an encounter. An encounter is nothing. You see a cop on the street, you say hello. That's just a regular encounter. The police have no ability at this point to stop you, to detain you, to do absolutely nothing, right? This is literally just called an encounter. 99.9% of police interactions with citizens are encounters. The next level. Now, to move up from having an encounter to being able to detain someone, right? To stop and question them, you need reasonable suspicion. So that's why that popped up, reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion that criminality is afoot. But now to move up this level, you need to be a law enforcement officer. This is not available to just regular citizens. right? You can't, a regular citizen can't stop, question, and frisk regular people. Thanks, Alan, for becoming a member. So this is where we're at. So that gives the police officer an ability to stop that person. And this stop is under Terry v. Ohio. It's known as a Terry stop. Most people know it as a stop, question, frisk. Only available to law enforcement officers. So you go from an encounter to being able to legally stop and detain someone and question them, right? It's called the Terry stop, or better known as stop, question, and frisk. Now, the next level, if you are going to arrest someone, now an arrest is known as a seizure of person. So if you're going to arrest someone, then reasonable suspicion is not enough, right? And if you're not law enforcement, since you're not available to Terry stops, you can only arrest people because again, we're talking about citizens arrest. So for an arrest, you need what's known as probable cause. Now, probable cause is a higher standard than reasonable suspicion in the sense of I've had to either see you commit a crime or have evidence or something that it's likely that you've committed a crime. For instance, let's say I walk up to a woman who says that she's just been assaulted and she has bruises all over her face. Well, the fact that she has bruises, the fact that she's pointing at the defendant, that would be probable cause for me to effectuate an arrest. That's probable cause, right? Because I have those facts and circumstances would lead a reasonable person to believe that this crime had just been committed. Now, if I've got probable cause as a law enforcement officer, as a regular citizen, then I can make an arrest. So that's the way. Now, the McMichaels are not officers. So they do not have the ability to make stops. They can only go from encounters to arrests. Now, I know that, I'm hoping that cleared that up, because now when the McMichaels say, we had this arrest, we had this, we're trying to effectuate this Terry stop. Well, they can't. Just like they can't effectuate a traffic stop, right? You can't do that because you're not authorized by the law to do that. Let me go back to the trial. All right, so we're going for 15 minutes from this trial. Let me see what's going on with Rittenhouse. So they got the roommate up on the Rittenhouse trial.
Curious about maintaining healthy blood pressure? We offer a unique herbal formulation that can help you safely maintain health. Are you looking for a safe, effective, and natural way to help maintain healthy blood pressure? We've created an amazing.
So let's go to the Rittenhouse trial. This is the used car. This is the owner of the used car lot.
What is it?
It was approximately $400,000.
Okay. I'm going to show you.
The used car lot that said that they didn't ask Rittenhouse to be there. They got him on the stand to impeach him, to show that he did
This happened.
ask him to be there. This is very low. I'm trying to figure out why it's so low. Oh, because he's walking away from the mic.
You guys remember, there's just all these cars exploding.
Wow. Look at all that damage. It burnt out all their cars. Shit. I would hire people. I would, yeah. This guy, of course he's a liar. I don't know if I'd show up. I would have showed up to court. They'd had to bring me back in.
Your lot, right?
At that time, yes.
They burnt down all of those cars.
Is that your brother?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Is that you?
Yes.
Okay.
That is him.
And so obviously it's affecting pretty hard. Yeah. Is it intended to hear this?
Yes.
Well, I can't.
Okay.
The most peaceful protest, right? They have prior knowledge of Arbery committed prior
other
misdemeanor.
people hear it?
That doesn't matter.
No.
Okay. If you see someone steal a purse and see them again later, can you? No. Not for a misdemeanor, no.
I wouldn't
Felonies,
think
yes.
that would control this.
Misdemeanors, no. Generally,
I think
that's
gonna
the
be
difference between
earlier in the
misdemeanors and
system.
felonies. For a felony, if you see someone commit it and you can arrest them later, yes. But for misdemeanors, no. You can't arrest someone for committing a misdemeanor. And they
Then it
didn't have
should be
prior
some-
knowledge that he committed any misdemeanors, because even the criminal trespass was no good. So that's just maybe it's a fact you weren't aware of. But Arbery, they actually had no information that he committed any crime previously. Nate the lawyer. So if you seize a person, don't they need so if there is a seizure of a person, they need immediate medical attention? Yes, if you're talking about medical seizure, but seizure I'm talking about is grabbing something.
I would think.
Seizure of
because,
property, seizure of person.
It is, I thought, connected into
Thoughts on the first
system
day of
here.
Rittenhouse defense yesterday? Pretty good. Defense did a pretty good job. I would have rested.
Okay.
I wouldn't even have these
Have you got
witnesses
ours
on.
all
For
the
what
way up?
reason? I think we've already made the case. I was sending it to the jury and
Is
get
there any
everybody
place
out of
where
there.
it's coming
But,
in clearly?
you know, they want to.
Are you getting it clearly?
They're putting icing on the cake, essentially. Nate the lawyer, did you notice the drone footage? Yeah. I think, the cop shooting Kyle Roosevelt from 10 feet away. The prosecutor missed that video. Yeah. I think that it's self-defense. Anybody who's telling you this is not self-defense.
Is anyone
doesn't know what
getting
they're
it
talking about.
clearly?
They want to hear what this witness is saying. Like this guy, I would not be there. You lost $400,000 worth of cars.
Yeah, let's talk. So this is your business,
Here it is. Let's see what he says.
and this obviously is affecting you pretty hard.
We built this place up from ground up.
Yeah.
When we started this business back in 2016, we had about 5 to 7 cars. 7 cars.
I counted the first day we had only 7 cars.
7 cars.
Yeah. Do you feel like right now with this that you're still Kenosha down? You're gonna stay here in Kenosha and rebuild?
Probably not. Well, the thing is, if there's no government funding or if there's no help from anybody,
Because
there's nothing I can do. I mean, in order.
Like I feel sorry for these
there's
guys,
no
right?
government funding
I feel so sorry for these
for
guys.
this. There's nothing.
The
we're gonna
business
be
has
able
been
to
burnt out.
right?
They need somebody to come help them,
I
and
must
now
have,
they
I
get somebody,
don't
and then
remember
now this happens, and now
saying
you know.
that.
ugh.
You're not disputing, you said it.
Oh yeah.
I
but-
must have. Run a business, it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of people,
No, I
takes
didn't see
a
it.
lot of effort
We have to
to
build
actually
capital first.
to
before
reinvest it.
We would have been at least so happy that, okay, we lost only 5 cars. 10, 15, okay, max 20, okay,
But the whole
25.
lot.
How many cars are lost total? You know,
In total?
Yeah.
In all 3
including that
locations,
one, 137.
137.
137 cars.
They know everything, huh?
I heard that there was at least 1.5
They
million
busted them
That
on
was the
perjury.
first
Remember, they knew nothing.
Wow.
2.5 million in total.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you
2.5
said
million
to
in
him
total. Now they said
the day after,
400,000.
Right?
I must have.
Well, you heard it, right?
Yes.
So when you said 400,000 today, is that a lie?
It's not a lie. It's what it is when we, like I said, when we saw that from in our eyes, we were in shock.
Okay.
To be able to, I'm sorry, to be able to how to come back from it. We were taking
2.5
everything in
million. He's like, now
consideration
you're
in
saying
terms of all the
400,000.
oil, the gas has gone.
Why lie
into
about
the
it, though?
asphalt, the
Why lie
DOR.
about
So we're basically putting everything in the consideration to get back on track. That's
Understand that. But I want you to answer my question.
go ahead.
Yeah.
My question was, when you testified today under oath that your loss was 400,000, you'd agree that's not what you said on the tape, right?
That is correct.
So what you testified today under oath, that's a lie, right?
It was a mistake
Today,
last time, but in the video,
the 2.5 million is the mistake.
yes, because we were in shock.
So where'd you come up with that number?
Like I just explained to you, over the property loss, the building, the roof, the glass.
I think he made a bad estimate. That's
we
what he's trying
didn't
to say.
know.
I understand
We
where the defense attorney's going.
looking
He's
at the
saying
condition of the lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's where they're going with this. This is probably
the
going for insurance,
asphalt,
but I'm trying to figure out how.
the soil contamination.
If you got
there's
2.5
DOR
million,
so
then it's
that stuff
2.5
is
million.
not
If it's
cheap,
400,000,
so
like,
we're
I made
just
a bad estimate.
approximation.
You see what I'm looking at here? I thought it was about 2.5 mil. It says 400,000.
What, he asked you that he said that he heard it was $1 million or $1.5 million, right? And then you corrected him and said, no, it's 2.5.
Well, that's what I said because of the DOR, and we knew we had to go through the permits again and stuff like that. So I didn't have. It was just the number that was out there, with me being in shock of the damages that has occurred to my dad's business.
You knew the specific number of cars, right?
137.
I didn't remember on last week, but now now it says there.
And it's 137.
137 cars.
I cannot remember what it was in total.
You know the exact number. 137.
I don't have anything else.
137 is a very, very
I would
specific
Judge,
number.
That was marked as 136 exhibit, and I would move that.
Objection.
No.
Proceed. Cross.
What do you cross this guy on? Listen, Binger, the case is over. Just tell the guy, I think you're going to go down for insurance fraud and call it a
Mr.
day.
Kindry, the video that we just saw, do you remember what day that was?
I honestly do not.
This guy knows.
Do you
nothing.
remember what day all of those cars burned?
This video, it seems like that was early Monday morning.
137 cars, 18,000 per car, yeah.
People said Sunday night the lot
Plus
burned,
the building damage.
But when we came to find out, it was Monday
environmental
early morning
impact
between 12:30 2 o'clock.
So people don't understand the environmental impact, all that car oil and all that stuff leaping into the ground soil. They may drink groundwater, so you got to clean all that stuff up so it doesn't, impact the groundwater and things of that nature.
I just want to make sure we're clear about what we're talking about, Mr. Kindry. We looked at this map when you testified on Friday, and the video we just saw is at this location, the car source on the northeast corner of 59th and Sheridan, correct?
That is correct.
And that is the lot that burned around 2 a.m. on Monday morning.
That is correct.
All of that damage had been done a couple days before the shootings where Mr. Rittenhouse killed people on the night of Tuesday, August 25th.
That is correct.
And your interview there that we just watched is what, maybe 6 or 8 hours after the cars had all burned?
Honestly, I don't remember what the time or the date was.
When that property burned, it wasn't just the cars, it was the building too.
Exactly, yes.
There was records, computers,
yes,
business files inside that building,
yes,
that were destroyed or damaged.
Yes.
Did that
Mr.
make
Trial
it hard
is bad
for
for Kyle.
you
He wants us to go to the
as a
jury.
or your family to
Mistrial means we get to
figure
do it
out
again. I don't want to do this again. I
all
want
of
this
your
to be over now.
business inventory, the property value, things like that?
Very hard, yes.
Is it fair to say that 6 or 8 hours after the incident, you didn't have a clear picture of the full value of your cars?
That is correct.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
You didn't have a clear picture on November 5th either, did you?
When he first testified, he didn't have a clear picture when he testified.
I did not.
A couple of days ago.
Nothing else.
That was a disaster.
That's called Kyle Rittenhouse.
We need to do something, take about 5 minutes. Can you step out just into the library here for a sec? Anybody wants to go upstairs may do so, but this will be less than 5 minutes, I'm expecting.
Yeah. All right. So I think Kyle might be going, might be case closed today and submitted to the jury. I don't think they're going to call Kyle. For what? Why would they call Kyle? Calling Kyle is ridiculous at this point in time. Yeah, don't call Kyle. Matter of fact, that'll be a question for the chat. Would you call Kyle? I feel like I'm insulting your intelligence by even asking you that, but there's no way you call Kyle.
Your lawyer has called you to testify as a witness in this case, and I just want to advise you what your rights are. You are allowed to testify if you wish under the Constitution, and no one can keep you from testifying, even your own lawyer, if that's what you want to do. If you do decide to testify, then the district attorney will be allowed to cross-examine you about anything that is relevant to this case. And that, are there any claimed prior untruthful statements? 90608.
We had testimony regarding the things he said about not shooting anyone.
No. I'm talking about prior.
I feel. Looking at the mom though. Oh my God, do I feel that woman's pain?
So
Like,
that's
kid
not
didn't
an
do
issue.
anything
The
wrong.
district
I
attorney
know
will
she's up
also be
there.
allowed to ask you if you've got any
I
criminal
got kids,
history
and I'm looking
juvenile
at Kyle.
adjudications. Are there any of that?
Not aware of it.
Okay, and
I
you
can
could
feel
be asked about any
They're
other
asking
crimes,
Kyle
wrongs,
if he is going to
or
testify.
prior events that I think I've ruled on everything that's
He's
been
not testifying yet.
presented
They're
to
asking
me.
if he's going to testify or not.
Left the door open on some things, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about it, and nothing. I've not heard anything in the case that would suggest to me that I would change any of those rulings. Unless there's something else on that, I don't need to cover that in terms of a possible inquiry. He will be able to ask you anything which is relevant to this case, germane, pertinent to this case, and you will have to answer those questions, even though it may ensnare you in some other criminal prosecution. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any question about that at all?
No, Your Honor.
You also have a right not to testify if you don't wish to do so. And if you decide that you do not wish to testify, then no comment can be made on your silence by the district attorney. And I will not comment on your silence unless I am asked by your attorney to do so. And the only comment that I would make on it, if I were asked to do so, would be to instruct the jury that the defendant in a criminal case has the absolute constitutional right not to testify, and that your silence must not be considered by the jury in any manner in deliberation or in reaching their verdict. Do you understand that?
So most people in the chat
that'll
don't
be a
believe he's
choice
going to
that
testify.
I would ask Mr.
86% said no.
Shropsky
Let's
or
see.
Mr. Richards at a later
I
point.
feel you, Mom. I feel his mom's
as to
pain
what
so
you wanted
much.
to do if you decided
that
not
was
to
my
testify,
baby up there. I'd be crying
that
too.
won't be an issue if you decide that you do want to testify.
I
Okay.
understand, woman.
Any
I
question
feel it.
about this at all?
No, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to discuss this matter with your lawyers?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had enough time to think about what you're doing?
Better say no.
You think what you're doing is the best thing under all the circumstances?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anybody threatened you or pressured you or forced you in any way with respect to this decision?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you anything in exchange for this?
No, Your Honor.
Is your mind clear today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you feeling all right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you had anything alcoholic to drink today?
No, Your Honor.
Have you had any drugs or controlled substances of any kind within the last 24 hours?
No, Your Honor.
Any reason I should not accept his waiver?
No, Your Honor, this is consistent with advice of counsel.
Okay. Any
I'm
questions?
not aware of any reason.
Okay. All right then. Anything else?
May I just have a moment to run back to my office real quick? I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you.
So he is testifying. Yes. You got to let the defendant know what's happening. So Kyle Rittenhouse is testifying. So chat. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? This is number one, insane. But shit. He is testifying. I feel his mom's pain. Come on, yeah. You look at that woman. I can't even look at her. I that would be me. That would be me. That would be me. I can see it. And especially knowing now that you don't think he did anything wrong. He wants to take this. Well, this is, this. He's testifying. Yeah. Come on. Really? All right. So, shit. Wow. I'm still kind of shocked. No. As a competent defense attorney, I would not have no. If he testifies, this is insane. Wow. Unfucking believable. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to go over to Ricardo's stream and watch Kyle testify with everyone else, because I don't want to deprive you. I'm covering Ahmaud Arbery, but I just think this is too important to just give it up. And I actually want to go do some other things too. But so my God, how in God's name is this happening under vice counsel? I don't know. John, I'm sitting here. I don't know. I fucking don't know. I'm going to spam the chat with the link. That's through Cater's stream. Let's all go over there and watch this madness, because I'm not going back to the Arbery trial if this kid is taking a stand. So this is where we're going to go. You have a whole bunch of attorneys over there, and let's just watch it there, guys.
Hey.
Let me just make sure he's testifying. But I'm spam that spam in the chat is, I believe Kyle is going to tell us how the story might drop moment. I'm hoping so, but this is insane. Yeah, I'm gonna go over to Ricardo's stream. I'm just pointing this up. I just want to make sure he's testifying before I go, because I'm really covering Arbery, but this is just too important. Shit. Is he really going to testify? Is this really happening? This shit is really happening. All right, people. Here we go. Here we go.
Can I ask you to stand, please, and raise your right hand?
That's where I'm going. All right, guys. Click that link in the chat. I'm going over to Ricardo because we're not going back to Arbery today. This is the case. So I'll see you guys over there.